Hey everybody, Koricon Nala here, and this is my review of The Fate and the Furious. The Fate and the Furious is directed by F. Gary Gray, and all of our stars are coming back: Vin Diesel, Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, all of them. Plus, we've got a new one, Charlize Theron, who's playing our villain this time. Now, the simple plot of it is the Fast and Furious crew are back and going up against their greatest foe, Dominic Toretto, who has teamed up with Cypher, played by Charlize Theron, and the crew has to figure out why Dom has betrayed them, at the same time trying to thwart Cypher's evil plans. Now, this first part's going to be spoiler free, and then when we get to the spoiler section, which I've got about 3 things that I just wanted to talk about in the spoiler section, I will let you know when the spoilers come, so that if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want it spoiled, then you can click off the video. But let's start out where you know what you're going to get with a Fast and Furious movie. You're going to get cars, impossible action, explosions, and an overabundance of testosterone. And this is the 8th movie in the series of this franchise, The Fate and the Furious, which fully embraces all of the tropes of the previous films. An example of movie expectations that I like to use is Friday the 13th. You don't watch a Jason Voorhees movie for the amazing acting and dialogue, thought-provoking storylines, and award-winning cinematography. You watch it to see Jason kill annoying teenagers in fun ways. Just like that, you go into a Fast and Furious movie wanting to just enjoy yourself, get out of reality, and watch a fun action film. You know you're not going to get amazing dialogue or crazy good acting or a storyline that's incredible. You're going to have fun and watch some craziness ensue. The Fate and the Furious delivers on all of its expectations, and it's really a fun movie. I enjoyed it. As long as you understand going in that that's what you're going to get, then you're going to have a good time at the theater with your popcorn, big screen, and loud stereo system. The movie is about 2.5 hours long, but it didn't feel like that, which is always a good sign of a fun movie, that you enjoyed yourself. If a movie is only an hour long and it feels like 2.5 hours, that's a bad movie. So I enjoyed myself. I would recommend seeing it, but here's my thoughts on it. I love Charlize Theron, so I'm a little biased on that. But I loved her role as Cypher. I thought she did a good job as a cold psychopath, and I get the feeling that she had a lot of fun doing the movie. As for everyone else, they did what was expected, and they brought to the table what we wanted from them. So that was okay. Nobody was bad. They were basically the same as they were in the other movies. For the most part, F. Gary Gray did well directing this movie. The pacing moved smoothly, so that's why it didn't feel like 2.5 hours. I think it's one of the better directed films out of the series. Even though I did like the other ones, there were moments that I thought they should move along. This one moved along very smoothly. I enjoyed that. But I was not a fan of some of the action sequences. For those of you that have watched my reviews and some trailer reactions about action films, you know that I talk about the SCQ, what I call the SCQ, which is shaky cam close-ups and quick cuts. And that will kill any action sequence and make it unwatchable or just annoying. Now, this movie, about half of the parts of the action and fighting had shaky cam and quick cuts, but they didn't have very many close-ups, which was good, so you were still able to tell what was going on. And the other half of it was filmed very well and had some really interesting camera movements, like when The Rock would hit somebody and they would spin, the camera would spin with them in a locked position. I really enjoyed that. So F. Gary Gray had some cool camera work for some of the action scenes, but I thought the cuts were too quick at some points, and the parts that had shaky cam was too shaky. Also, many elements of the action sequences, some of the car chases, and especially the part on the frozen lake in the snow, reminded me a lot of the Pierce Brosnan James Bond films of the 1990s. And my head, I kept thinking that the music was going to change and go dun 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 dun. But it didn't. But I kept thinking of like GoldenEye and some of those ridiculous stunts and some of the other movies that they did, like in the snow and whatnot, with the villain, that Korean that had all of the diamonds stuck in his face. I can't remember the title of that one, but it reminded me of some of those action scenes, just in the way that it was filmed and the pacing of it, I guess. So during the action sequences, I kept thinking, nice! Awesome! So I was like going back and forth during the action sequences. And so I think they're not as good as maybe John Wick, but they're nowhere close as bad as, say, Assassin's Creed. They were just in the middle and acceptable and had some really cool moments. Pretty much what you expected from a Fast and Furious movie. Maybe a tad better than some of them. So to wrap up, The Fate of the Furious, the 8th movie in the series, was everything I expected from a Fast and Furious movie, and a fun time at the movie theaters. Charlize Theron was better than I expected, and one of my favorite villains in the franchise. So get your popcorn, grab your soda, go watch it on the big screen, and enjoy yourself. Just drop reality for a while and have some fun. I'm going to give this movie a grade of a B+. Now we're going to get into some spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, now is the time for you to go away and come back after you've seen the film and see what the 3 things I wanted to talk about for the spoiler section. So spoilers, you've been warned. In Fast and Furious 6, there was an action sequence at the end where they're chasing down an airplane on a runway. And it kind of became a running joke because it was like a 13-minute chase sequence at high speed. And they figured out that the air runway would have had to have been 18 miles long just to explain the length of the action sequence. And it kind of became a running joke. But I think they thought about that going into this movie because they again had a chase scene with a big vehicle, which this time was a submarine under an ice lake. And they were trying to get to the gates that open and close to open water, and they wanted to get it closed so that the Russian sub with nuclear weapons on it could not get out to open waters, so that Cypher wouldn't be able to get a hold of them because she couldn't launch the nukes since they had thwarted that earlier. But they made the gate 10 miles away, and they said that in the movie. Oh, it's 10 miles away. And I like that, because it explains why the action sequence is so long. So even though it's very quick and almost unnecessary for a Fast and Furious movie, I really liked that, and was one of the things that stuck in my head, where I was like, that was a long sequence, but it made sense. It was 10 miles away. Now, why a Russian sub is 10 miles away from the gate that goes to open water, I don't know. But at least they explained why the action sequence was so long. I also loved the fight sequence on Cypher's airplane with Jason Statham saving Dom's baby boy. It was really cheesy, but it was funny and entertaining, and I did enjoy it for what it was. The baby was really cute. Statham kicked some butt. For the most part, the action sequence was filmed really well, and it reminded me of some of the comedy that you would get from fight sequences like from Jackie Chan movies and stuff. So I really enjoyed that sequence. One of the problems I had with the movie, though, was in this movie, Deckard Shaw, who's played by Jason Statham, begrudgingly helps the crew to take down Cypher, and even ends up saving Dom's baby on the airplane, like I mentioned. And because of his actions, he became a good guy and kind of joined part of the family, the crew Dom's crew. But in Fast and Furious 7, or Furious 7 as it was called, Jason Statham killed one of the major characters, Han, who first showed up in Tokyo Drift, and then because of the continuity of the series, Han was in 4 through 6 or 7, and then Statham ended up killing Han. But it felt like, did they forget about Han? Did they forget that Deckard killed him? So it felt kind of weird that they just, kind of forgave him. Oh, it was just Han, no big deal. Become part of the family. You're not a bad guy anymore because you saved Dom's baby. So that seemed like a cheap way of getting Jason Statham into the good guy so that in the next 2 movies he can be a good guy with everybody else. But also his brother, Owen Shaw, kind of became a good guy as well, even though he had a very short moment in the movie where he was on the airplane with his brother trying to save Dom's baby. And it felt like they're just taking bad guys from previous movies and making them good guys. I mean, The Rock was the protagonist in the 4th movie, and Owen Deckard was the bad guy in the 6th movie, and Deckard Shaw was the bad guy in the 7th movie, and now they're all kind of good guys. The Rock is one of the family. He's one of the major characters now. So it makes me wonder, is Charlize Theron going to become a good guy in the next movie? Of course, they really did set it up to where she would continue to be the villain for at least the next movie, if not the next 2. Because she was a good villain, and I enjoyed her acting as the cold psychopath. She did a very good job, I thought. So those are my thoughts on Fast and Furious 8, or The Fate of the Furious. Let me know what you guys think. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. And I will see you on the next video.